Welcome to Grace in the Shadows. This is Dr. Marla Behler and
Dr. J.
Dr. Jonathan Behler. Well, hello, everybody. Hope you are doing well today. We want to shout out to Cary, North Carolina.
Carrie.
All right.
Oh, Carrie.
Cary. Oh, please don't
Remember,
sing.
Sherry.
It was
That's
Sherry, but
Journey.
okay. Anyway, Cary, North Carolina. Used to work there. It's a really nice little city.
It is.
Yeah. All right. You can check us out at graceintheshadows.org. You can call us at 251-244-4645, or you can email us at drjonathan at graceintheshadows.org. Well, it's been a minute since we put out a new one.
In a minute, couple weeks.
Yep, 2.5 weeks ish.
We just got back from Africa, a little jet lagged. I pray a lot. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm fine on the way over.
Yeah.
Okay, on the way back, and it's tough.
Well, on the way back, because you were 8 hours ahead. You're like a day ahead.
Yes. Now you go back.
And you're going through, 2 or 3 time zones?
Something like that.
But it definitely messes with you. But you're back. I'm glad you're back. You were sick there in Africa.
So we're going to talk about that in the next podcast.
Absolutely. I was
what God did.
I was a bit nervous back here, me and the dog. We were just a bit nervous about you, but we knew God was going to take care of you. So very thankful for that.
I had peace.
So definitely look out for that podcast where you're going to talk about that along with Gabriel.
Yes.
Y'all are going to take over the podcast. So, but today we're talking. Oh, but we didn't give our news.
We have 5 new babies.
Not real babies.
Not real babies. Baby goats.
3
of them are fainting goats.
3 fainting goats and 2 Nubian goats. And the Nubian goats are from the same mama as our 2 original goats. So they're sitting out there like big brothers watching them. And the dog is really excited about the little ones, but he's got to get used to them because he wants to just chase them, and they're little. They're really little, but they're fun. They're cute. So what are we going to talk about today?
We're going to talk about the cult, the false religion of Roman Catholicism.
Okay. And I know you're going to give us a lot of history about it, so we are ready for it. Go for it.
It's kind of historical here. We're going to talk about, I actually was Roman Catholic personally for 25 years, so I understand it pretty much expert, I would say.
I think you are. You're not just coming from, okay, I've studied about this, but you were in the Roman Catholic Church.
I was in it. I was an altar boy. I went to confession. I took communion, prayed the Hail Marys.
Right. So before people get really irritated at you for talking about this, they need to realize that you were raised Roman Catholic. You know it in and out.
Evangelicals. Try to argue with me. No, they're not a cult. They're not false.
Right.
They love Jesus. I'm like, dude, I was Roman Catholic. What in the world, go through every doctrine, compare it to Roman Catholicism.
And there can be people that are saved in Roman Catholicism, just like there are people that are not saved in the Southern Baptists,
I would totally agree with that. I believe there are in every area of denomination.
Right.
There are a remnant of people, even in Roman Catholicism.
Right.
That's not because they follow the Roman Catholic Church.
No.
Because they follow Jesus. For some reason, they stay there.
Right.
I don't know why you would.
So don't realize that, he's not coming for you. He's just giving the background. Go for it.
Giving the background. So, some signs of a cult or false religions, leaders can't be questioned. That is pretty big. When you look at the Pope, papal authority, the priest, there's a lot of faith in Roman Catholicism. I love the Roman Catholic family.
Yes, absolutely.
The Roman Catholic people are great people. As a matter of fact, I love them enough to tell them the truth.
Right.
But they have great faith that is blind. And Jesus never asked for blind faith.
Right.
His faith was logical faith.
Yes.
The Roman Catholic Church, we believe it because this is what they've always told us.
That's right.
The members are controlled in daily life. It's a little better now, but it's still, you have to go, you have to do this, you have to do so many mass, you can never truly know you're saved.
And you're reporting your sins to a man.
Yes.
And God tore the curtain, so we don't have to go through a
We go
priest.
straight to Jesus. We're gonna get
Right.
all that too. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Doubt and punishment or silence. There is a lot of shame, emotional, spiritual abuse, and even sexual aspects
Mhm.
in the Roman Catholic religion.
Yes, yes.
A little back, interesting when you watch like Fox News or
Mhm.
CNN or other newscasts, and they're given an account. They often want to give a Christian input, and probably 90% of the time, they
Right,
invite the Christian side, and it will always be a Catholic priest. Almost
right.
always be a Catholic
Yeah.
priest.
Or somebody like Joel Osteen or something
Yeah,
like
which
that, but a
really
lot of
isn't.
times yeah.
It's really not Christian at all.
No, no, but you do see a lot of Catholic priests that they bring in to get the Christian input, rather than getting evangelicals, which is a tragedy.
Yeah. Historical origin of the Roman Catholic Church. Early church, the Roman Catholic Church was not the first church.
No, but they'll say it is.
They'll say it is, but the first and third century AD, early church, the Christian church began with Jesus and the apostles. Matter of
Mhm.
fact, the apostle Paul talks about Jesus as the living stone, the cornerstone, and the apostles are the foundation to the entire church.
Right.
And so the early church met in homes,
Mhm.
shared teaching, communion, suffered persecution. There was no centralized church government that existed, no pope. The authority was shared with apostles and elders.
Yeah.
So there was no papal authority in the early church.
Mhm.
Um, Legalization. How did the Roman Catholicism come into existence?
Hmm.
When we look at this, the legalization in fourth century started with Emperor Constantine.
Okay.
Constantine supposedly had an experience with Christ. I hope he did.
I hope he
I
did,
have some
yeah.
doubts.
Okay.
Um, and he supposedly became a Christian. But when we look at this, the Roman Empire was falling apart at this time.
Mm,
Constantine was pretty desperate,
right.
and there was Christian persecution all over the Roman Empire.
Mm,
And where for every one Christian that died, persecution, seven more rise.
mm,
And so basically, it became an upheaval of if we can't beat them, we'll join them.
right.
And so he wanted to nationalize or make it the empire's official religion, Christian.
Mhm.
Now, in order to do this, he would be a great compromise. He would have to create a church and state merging,
Right,
and the Bishop of Rome, who would later be the Pope, began gaining prominence.
right.
And so, over time, the church councils defined the doctrines, Trinity, Christ nature. By the way, the Roman Catholic Church did not come up with the Trinity.
Mm,
That was the early church. That was
right.
Christ. That was the
Yes.
Holy Spirit already had Christ's nature in the triune
Mhm.
God.
Yes.
Um, these doctrines often are told the Roman Catholic Church affirm,
Mhm.
but these were already affirmed in the infancy of the church,
Right.
and it was reaffirmed early in the councils, key councils like Church of Nice or the Council of Nicaea,
Mhm.
325 AD, Constantinople, 381 AD, and Chalcedon, 451 AD,
Mhm.
and were called by Roman emperors, not by the Pope alone.
Mm,
And these councils, ecumenical, involving bishops of the Christian world at that time, unilaterally, over time, especially in the West, the Pope's authority became more centralized, institutionalized. So all the early part of Roman Catholicism was not like it is today. The early stages,
mhm.
I believe it was still strongly Christian.
Right.
It
Okay.
wasn't totally perverted yet.
Well, let me ask you this question. You may be talking about this in a bit,
Yes.
but I've heard that some Catholics say that Peter was the first pope. Are you going to bring that up in a bit?
Yes.
Okay. And they say that because Jesus says, Upon you, Peter, I will build my church.
We're going to get into
Okay.
that as
All
we
right.
go on, and
Okay.
that is just not true. It's
Yeah,
totally twisting scripture
it is.
like
It is.
like cults do.
But I've heard
Yeah.
that quite a few
Oh,
quite a
yes.
few people. Yeah.
The Bishop of Rome claimed supremacy over other bishops, and he based it on Peter's role.
Mm,
And so, how did Constantine hit another problem? Okay.
okay.
Constantine started, but it was Theodosius the First that legalized it. And the problem was the church began absorbing pagan practices.
Mm.
In order to get Christian and to make it an empire of Christianity,
Mhm.
they had to combine and make it Christian.
Ah, okay.
But there were a lot of problems.
Right.
And the problems were very interesting because they would have to compromise many of the doctrines of Christianity.
Right.
Um, for instance, the um, uh, the cult of Isis, who
Okay.
was the mother, supposedly a virgin,
Mhm.
who had Horus, an Egyptian cult religion.
Okay.
They began, in that area, what they did was they just changed the name to Mary.
So they took the practice
Yes.
of Isis and all that and basically turned Isis into Mary, is what you're saying.
Yes.
When I was young, I used to watch Isis and I used to collect Isis comic books.
Really?
And I didn't realize.
It was based on pagan.
Right. I didn't realize that. Yeah. Kind of like in Wonder Woman, that she's
She
kind
is.
of based off of that
She
as
is.
well altogether. Yeah.
A lot of the superheroes.
I'm chasing rabbits,
No,
but
you're
it's
exactly right.
true that a lot of them were based on these things that turned into that.
A lot of the superheroes, even and the myths,
Uh-huh.
come right out of this.
Right.
There's
Interesting.
nothing unique.
Yeah.
Satan keeps playing from the same playbook,
Right.
only changing the name.
Yes.
Then they had the barbarians who worshiped their heroes.
Mm.
And they would have all their heroes and they would pray to them. And this is where the Roman Catholicism, they integrated praying to the saints,
Mhm.
and they changed it into all the saints of God, into these idols, to
Mhm.
where the barbarians would just call them, like Peter, Paul, Thomas, and they would pray to them and say they're Christian.
So they basically were converting God, little g,
Yes.
worship and turning it into the
Yes.
quote saints of the Bible,
Yes.
but it was really actually idolatry.
Yes.
Okay.
This didn't happen all at once. Like I
Right.
said,
It was
probably
gradual.
first 50 to 100 years, it probably pre- it wasn't totally orthodox, but it had the gospel was more
Right.
apparent.
Yeah.
There was more sound teaching.
Right.
And yeah, this happened kind of actually gradually, but it was actually quick too.
And a lot of times things will start off with good intentions.
Yeah.
And I think they did start off with
Mhm.
good intentions, but then it started becoming very twisted.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Let's look at some of this. So critics argue when Christianity became part of the Roman era, it blended paganism. So the first thing, prayers to Mary and the saints.
Mm.
And so the pagan occult parallel is similar to ancestral worship, praying to spirits. The Bible specifically says, the Bible teaches prayer only to God in 1 Timothy 2:5.
Mm-hmm.
Statues and images, Roman Catholicism integrated with paganism, idol
Mm-hmm.
worship, pagan temples. Exodus 20:4-5 forbids making images or bowing down to them in worship.
Yes.
Holy water and incense is used in pagan rituals to cleanse off or ward off spirits.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that's where they got that because they were trying to
Interesting.
make Christianize the Roman Empire.
Right.
It was not part of New Testament church worship
Mm-hmm.
at all.
Okay.
Transubstantiation. And the transubstantiation comes from Mithraism, which is the belief that you could eat, basically turn food into your god.
That's
And
bizarre.
and so they even goes back to Egyptian worship where they would eat certain foods believing it was Horus.
So that's where
Yes,
the
transubstantiation.
transubstantiation, where the blood and the wafer become Jesus's
Yes.
body and Jesus' blood. It came from paganism.
It came from paganism.
I did
Yeah.
not realize that.
And
Okay.
by the way, transubstantiation, that means that the wafer is not just the Lord's Supper, it's eating the Lord
Right.
and it's drinking his blood from the wine.
Right.
But in
Interesting.
Luke chapter 22, verse 19, the Lord's Supper is symbolic. Do this in memory of me.
Mm-hmm.
Very clear.
Mm.
Rosary beads, similar to Hindu, Buddhist prayer beads, not biblical command to repeat memorized prayers at all. Jesus goes over that. Wearing vestments,
Mm-hmm.
that's interesting. because when you look at this, they definitely they have some pretty interesting get-ups,
Right.
for sure. It says here in the word that basically paganism mirrors priestly garments in pagan temples.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly what it does.
Interesting. Okay.
Matter of fact, the Pope's hat and some of the bishops' hat, it looks like a fish, and that
Okay.
comes from Dagon, the god of Assyria.
Dagon was,
No, Jonah, remember Jonah,
yes.
the fish god.
And
He was
so
a
he
fish
was,
god.
and they turned against the fish god, but they were worshiping the fish god.
Yes.
Okay.
So you'll see the Pope with his hat. It looks like a fish, and yeah,
I've never noticed that. I'll have to pay attention to that next time. So the vestments and wearing all those things also came from paganism.
yes.
Okay.
They got some of it also from Judaism, but it's a mixture.
Mm-hmm.
And even Judaism, around the time that they were um, creating this one world religion at that time of Roman Catholicism, uh, it was more Kabbalism, not true Judaism.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
New Testament teaches spiritual priesthood of all believers. You don't have to be dressed up in anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Veneration of Mary as Queen of Heaven, title used of Babylon religion, Jeremiah 7:18. Talks of Semiramis is considered the Queen of Heaven, Mother of God, and there's no New Testament support for Mary as a co-redemptress.
Right.
Yeah.
She sinned. I mean, Jesus even called her out, and that drives me insane.
In Jeremiah 7:18, the children gather wood to make cakes for the Queen of Heaven.
Mm.
Basically, that is where they get Mother of God.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So this is very interesting. You go back, Nimrod, Semiramis, Tammuz.
Mm-hmm.
All these legends, Semiramis was often viewed as the queen of heaven. Tammuz was as a dying and rising god
Mm-hmm.
who was actually worshipped in Mesopotamian religion as a fertility god. And so, yeah, that's where you get, and you have all these false religions through the years that kind of Satan just changes the name of them.
Right.
Let me give you some mother and child imagery in pagan religion.
Okay.
You can see where you can trace it.
Mm-hmm.
Egypt is Isis, the child is Horus.
Hmm.
That's where you get mother son worship.
Okay.
Greece, it's Rhea and Demeter, Zeus and Persephone, which that's where you get child and mother worship there.
Okay.
Rome, Cybele, Magna Mater, and Attis.
Okay.
Mesopotamia is Ishtar and Tammuz.
Mm-hmm.
Canaan is Asherah and Baal.
Okay.
Um, and this can be traced all the way back to how Mary and Jesus worship today. Actually, it's not truly Mary.
Right.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
Mary was a godly woman.
She was a godly woman.
godly.
I mean, God chose her to bear his son, to bear Jesus, but he did not take away her sin nature.
No.
No. And she never said, worship me.
100%.
She never said that. She never said those things.
Right. So, that is just, I think, extremely disheartening.
It is.
Because you see people that truly want the true God.
Right.
Well, they don't, or they would find him.
Right.
They're looking for God.
Yeah.
And they believe they're worshiping the true God. They will
Right.
say they're Christian.
Yeah.
But in reality, they're not.
Right.
Yeah. The Bible warns against corruption in the church in the end times.
Mm-hmm.
It says that false teachers, spiritual corruption would enter the church. 2 Timothy 4:3-4, for the time will come.
Mm-hmm.
People will not endure sound doctrine and will turn aside to myths.
Yes.
Revelation 17 describes corrupt religion system called Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you see this, you see a lot of you see the great deception. I believe the Roman Catholic Church will have a great part in the end time false religion of the false prophet and the Antichrist.
I agree. I mean, it's big. It's real big. And I see that occurring as well.
Yeah. anything that you see, I know we just started this,
Yeah,
it's very, I want to get into some of the doctrines next
right.
time, how it came
Yeah,
about, and how
absolutely.
to witness to Roman Catholics next time.
I think that's great. And it's important for us to understand what everyone believes. And it's important to understand where those beliefs go wrong. And so that's why I'm glad that we're doing this. And this all definitely helps us understand that.
God can take your mess, turn to a message for his glory for your good.
Thanks for listening, everybody. Have a great day. Goodbye.